The first question is, how important is networking in your field?
I think for any field, networking is very important, but especially for science. So the oceanography community is actually very small. So networking is definitely a really great way for you to meet new people and learn of new opportunities. So for example, at the scientific conference I was just at, talking to different professors and grad students, you come to realize that the circle is very small. So a lot of people knew my professor, the professor I worked for. And, that makes it easier for you already have that connection. So it makes it easier for them to say like, hey, I know of this opportunity that you might be interested in. So networking, I think, is definitely important. And as someone, if you know me personally, I used to be very, very shy. So it definitely took a lot for me to get the courage to talk to people. But, the more that you do it, the easier it'll become and the more opportunities you'll be exposed to.
All right. The next one isn't really a question. They're just asking if you have any tips on how to decide your major for your applications.
Yeah, so for me, it was pretty easy because I knew I always wanted to study marine biology. But for those of you who don't really have a clear idea of what you want to do, I would definitely recommend kind of exploring in high school what you think you might be interested in. So whether that's biology, physics, chemistry, or even non-science, just going out there and experiencing new things. So that will help you narrow down what you might want to study in college.
Okay. And the last question that someone submitted before the actual webinar. So how did you find and narrow down your interests in high school?
So like I said in my presentation, I've always loved the ocean. And I actually did have like a moment before I was applying to college, wondering if marine biology was the right path for me to take, because it was something I was really passionate about, but is this something that I could feasibly make my career? And so after, going to the sea turtle camp and getting more experience in the ocean, I realized that this is the thing that I really want to do.
All right. So we have some questions in the chat now. We'll probably be able to take maybe 2 or 3 of them. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to just leave them in the chat. The first one, did you face any major setbacks or rejections in your search for a research or internship opportunity? And if you did, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I actually started applying to these REUs my sophomore year. So I applied twice before I actually got one. And I applied for a bunch of different ones. And I think it was because of the skills that I had at the time, as well as, the experience that I had. I wasn't the best candidate. So definitely was a little bummed out that I didn't get anything my sophomore year. But from sophomore year to junior year, I joined a lab. I got more experience in research and was able to write about that in my personal statement. So that definitely helped to boost my application for the next application cycle. And I think it's important to remember these REU experiences are pretty competitive. So don't feel bad if you don't get them on the first try. And also try to apply to a wide range of them so that you have the highest chance of getting an internship.
All right. The next question is, what kind of machines do you use on your research?
So the research that I currently am doing because of COVID-19 is completely remote. But when you're out on the ocean, so the stuff that I did during the cruise, so we used two types of nets. They are called MOCNIS nets, which stand for multiple opening and closing environmental sampling systems. And these are basically these huge metal frames, and on each of them, there are multiple nets. So we had a 1 meter net, which was a 1 meter by 1 meter frame, and a 10 meter by 10 meter frame. So these are some pretty big nets. I wasn't able to put any pictures, but yeah, other like machines, I guess, equipment that you would be using in the research would be things like that CTD, which measures physical characteristics. But yeah, to catch animals, you would usually use different types of nets.